Hi everybody, I'm making this video this week to give you my thoughts as promised on the Allegory of the Cave. Like I said, I'm here with my co-host, Brayden Majeski. Say hi, Brayden. There you go. And do you have any thoughts on the Allegory of the Cave, buddy? Alright, what are they? You want to share them? Okay, go ahead. Excellent. Alright, so, the idea of the Allegory of the Cave has to depend on how you view Plato's interpretation. Plato was a guy that didn't like rhetoric very much. He was very much a philosopher. And Plato's view on the way in which we come to know things dealt from this idea of the philosopher kings, these people that sort of were endowed with the knowledge and how others can or cannot acquire that knowledge. And so while I think a lot of people today look at or read the Allegory of the Cave and interpret it in a way that's like, hey, I can become enlightened through this, that they oftentimes see it as empowering, that gaining knowledge grants them power. But I would argue that Plato wouldn't necessarily have intended for you to think of it that way. In fact, Plato more likely was one of the philosopher kings, at least in his mind, that he possessed that knowledge, and so he didn't really feel all that much like everybody like you and me should be able to possess it. Of course, unless we probably paid for his teaching of it, and then we could become one of the philosopher kings like him. So it's not so much in many ways about gaining knowledge through hard work or empowerment or anything like that. But I think most likely, if we were to really interpret it in the way that Plato probably intended it to, it's about how only certain people can possess knowledge, and in fact it becomes impossible, much like the prisoner at the end, to share it with those who don't already possess it. So I think a lot of times students will read the Allegory of the Cave and see themselves as the freed prisoner, but I would argue probably it's much more likely Plato intended for people like you and me to see ourselves as the prisoners stuck in the cage. Brayden, any final thoughts on that? You want to share them? Go ahead. Awesome.